Okay, so now that we've gone through the fundamentals and mechanics, the next question should be how do you find your students, or how are they going to find you? We're hoping you find them, but sometimes they'll find you as well. Again, a note from the last section, 66% of our students taking honors contracts were not even in the honors program. So it's not as if you need to identify the already enrolled honors students and see if they want contracts. It's open to anyone. We have some guidance there and some things you might want to take into consideration, but it's open to anyone. Okay, so recommendations for selecting contract candidates. This is recommended by the Honors Advisory Council. You do not need to follow this, but this is the recommendation or set of recommendations we're making. If you have a group of people and you have to exclude a number of them because you're limited to that 5, we would like you to take into consideration maybe admitting an Honor Scholar Program student because they're trying very hard to complete the program, which means they need to take 5 honors courses with at least 15 units within sometimes a 1-year period. We're talking to a student yesterday who's trying to do this in 1 year, some of them in a 2-year period, and it can be very demanding. So if you can give some preference to them or do your best to include them, we would appreciate that. Students close to transferring, this is the last one they need, maybe take that into consideration as well. And then courses a part of their major prep. We also ask you to think about that. Rather than me talking about this though, I'd like the students to kind of share their experiences. You talked a little bit about how you kind of accidentally fell into honors, but since then, the 2 of you, Marissa and Vanessa, have done honors contracts. Can you tell me about maybe the best way you have found an honors contract, or a preferable way, or were there any kind of difficulties that you faced in that process?
I guess I can start. I have found contracts from other students suggesting them to me, and also from professors emailing their class and just saying, hey, this semester I'm offering a contract for this class, and a little short description of what that means. If you're interested, it might require that you do an extra project, so email me back. So that was helpful when professors sent out an email. So those are the main ways. I've also looked on our honors website.
Just the list of courses that would be available. And
Yeah.
did you liked getting the email early on? And
Yeah, I thought that was really helpful,
Okay.
especially like you were mentioning, people who might not know about contracts. They might not know to look on the website or to even talk to people about contracts, so it might be helpful to send out an email.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. Marissa?
One of my professors announced it in front of the class, and then another one of my professors emailed ahead of time, and I think she also brought it up in class as well. Personally, I think it's really helpful to send an email ahead of time, but then also to bring it up in class right before that deadline. I mean, I don't know if it's possible to maybe get some students started earlier, maybe if they want to, but then still be able to include students later on, because I think that would be helpful for students who do want that head start on their project.
Yeah, I think it is possible. Some of us might have 1 or 2 contracts and then a third is added or a fourth. The one thing I would recommend is don't try to turn those contracts in week 1. We do want them on time, but you might want a couple weeks to assess the students and get to know them before you kind of make that decision, sign that contract. Questions so far on how you might reach out to students, how you might, yeah.
Could we put something in the syllabus, the regular syllabus?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And then that would be then that would come up in class as we go over it, so.
Yeah, and I have a couple slides here about how you might want to vet those students and whatnot, but at least so they know that it's open to everyone. I think that's the thing we want to keep emphasizing. Not only do some students not know about contracts, some students don't know about honors in general. So to get them involved in that process would be a really wonderful thing. Any way you can make that explicit.
So one of the things I do is that I have a theme for each contract that I'm going to be offering, and so what I would do is on the first day when I'm going through the syllabus, without handing out the syllabus requirements, I'm going to say the theme of this U.S. military history contract is going to be propaganda, war and propaganda. And we'll be kind of looking into articles and documents, and so if you're interested in that, come and talk to me after class. And so I don't even have the contract syllabus done yet. I just want to tell them the theme that I'm going to be focusing on or would like to focus on. And then the next day, because sometimes it can be overwhelming the first day doing the syllabus and then throwing the honor syllabus on top of it, I don't do the honor syllabus until usually the second or the third class meeting. So I've had a chance to talk about this, and establish that trust factor that I'm going to be working with you on all of the skills that we'll be doing. And some students are going to be concerned about cost. So you might want to have a clear indication, I'm going to be using digital documents. This won't cost you anymore except for the portion of time that you will be spending with me. So I focus on making it clear kind of what my idea is going to be, that this is going to be at no additional cost, but there is an expectation of time, and this will be the measurement of time that I will be expecting of that student. And so that way I'm starting, because I have found, because my syllabus is really, really long, and it can be scary sometimes, right? When you start putting a second book and they don't realize I'm using portions and pieces of documents in order to kind of start that discussion. So I recommend kind of thinking of yourself as a lifeguard instructor, doing someone's first lessons. You can throw the child in on the first day into the pool and say, swim, or you can kind of say, oh, let's talk about what we're going to do first, and then we're going to go through this in a little bit more benign fashion.
I'm about to throw you in.
Yeah.
And it's a good point, just to reiterate something Christopher was saying. The syllabus doesn't need to be written yet, the honor syllabus, in the first week, right? Your regular syllabus hopefully is written by that time and distributed. But you have time to think about it, to talk to the students, and craft assignments, craft projects based on those interactions. So it doesn't need to be done before the first day of school. Couple examples of ways other faculty have recruited. We have a couple Lynn Miller examples throughout this presentation because she's been very actively involved in our honors program. But she is someone who reaches out very early, and before the semester starts, things are good to go. Both of you
Yes.
have had contracts with Dr. Miller. What was that experience like?
It was extremely organized and very well laid out. So
Okay.
we met a week before classes began.
Mm-hmm.
She had sent out an email and I had responded right away because I'd taken that class with an intention of signing an honors contract with her. And then after that, I don't really know how to describe the process, but it was a very organized and well laid out process. Essentially, we were supposed to try and find do Google searches on 3 different ideas that we might want to explore farther for our project. And then we did that. Then after that, we kind of went over, we met in a small group of 3 people. It was me, Vanessa, and someone else. It was a combination of the cultural anthropology and the biological anthropology class, and we all met together. Okay. And we went over
So
our
2 different sections, but still creating that kind of
Yeah,
community.
exactly.
Okay.
It was really nice, and we kind of went over our different ideas, and then we explored the ideas that we liked further. And then basically every week we were assigned an article summary, but we had to do that article summary for our regular class plus an additional article summary that was related to our project.
Okay.
So throughout the semester we were doing work that we also were able to use to develop our different projects. So that was really helpful. Do you want to add on to that? What else did we do?
Yeah, I think Marissa covered most of it, but we met really consistently, and so that was
Great.
something that really goes with the organized approach that she took. We met every other week, and that was
Okay.
something that really helped us to be successful.
Okay.
Yeah, and rather than writing a long paper, what we did is we wrote super summaries, and we had to write 2 different ones. And the
Okay.
whole idea of a super summary is that rather than writing a research paper, you write this super summary that that falls into a PowerPoint perfectly. And we were actually required to present at the Omni.
Okay.
It wasn't optional, it was actually part of, if we hadn't been able to present at the Omni if something had happened, we would have presented in front of the class, but a presentation was necessary to complete the contract.
So that's an option for you if you really want to see this through and make sure they take it into kind of higher stakes, pretty low stakes as far as conferences and showcases go, but it's outside of the classroom, it's to strangers. You can require that, you can make it a class assignment. Okay, wonderful. Lisa Lane, a history professor here, she has a slightly different approach. She has students do a writing exercise if they're interested in doing a contract, so she can begin to assess where they're at and also potentially what their interests are, so that she can tailor it and she can make sure that they are equipped to complete the contract that she has in mind, or the standards that she has in mind. Again, those standards are going to vary, but correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking for 25 to 37% more work.
Yeah, we don't use kind of hours, right? Because it's kind of more flexible than that. We're looking for 25 to 33% more work. So usually we'll look at that in your syllabus. Whether you're doing point totals or expectations of meeting times and stuff. So we should be able to see that element. And again, it's rough, but that's what Jeff's going to be looking for in your syllabus is kind of that 25 to 33% more work. And so remember that could be 6 small assignments, for instance, or 3 small assignments more, because that could end up being the expectation. So there are a lot of projects that involve service learning, perhaps, that might require like 4 different service learning participatory opportunities.
Yeah, an example would be like one in my class that fits quite well. I have all my students in my world religions class visit a religious service of a tradition that's not their own. So they often go to the local mosque. We have a Jain temple. In Vista, they go to the Jewish synagogue. Some of them go to a Christian church if they're outside of that tradition. I might have a student do 3 or 4, meeting with an imam, meeting with a rabbi, and then doing some kind of comparative analysis of it. And that could be it. That could be, I mean, that's a lot more work, having students, schlep all over town and kind of interview people and sit in all of these different things. I don't necessarily need a research paper out of it, but I need some kind of analytical reflection. It's very flexible in what you do, but I will be looking to see if we've increased the rigor a bit and we've had them more engaged. I really think the meeting experiences are important. Yeah?
Has the timing of the Omni conference for fall been set?
It is, yeah. I can write a date down right now. It will be November 30th.
Oh, I didn't read my postcard.
Yeah, it's on the post, you have a postcard. Okay, yeah, it's November 30th, it'll be at the San Elijo campus. This is not a session to sell the Omni by any means, but every semester, it's a lot of weight on our shoulders, being on the advisory council, now my responsibility of running it. It's stressful, and then I get there that day and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this, and I leave just energized. These students have the most interesting and well-cultivated and fascinating presentations from so many disciplines. I just love seeing the confidence and the growth. Seeing a student do it for the first time, then the next year. I encourage you to come out. We are always looking for faculty to be involved, to become judges, to moderate sessions, all different ways you can become involved. So if you're interested in that, you can email me directly, and I can put you to work.
So yeah, we'll be talking about assignments briefly, but in terms of page 11 on your best practices guide, so oftentimes it'll just show you a range of possible assignments that you could be working from, that you can put into your syllabus to demonstrate that 25 to 33%. So be thinking about that. It doesn't always have to be just a research paper, and so there's a lot of different things that can be done. You'll see that by going to the Google website and taking a look at the different videos. I think it's a really great exploration in all the different types of projects that can be done relative to disciplines, because we do have those there from geography, and we do have those there from other disciplines, psychology and sociology and so on and so forth. So it is kind of just a good idea as you're thinking about possibilities for your contracts. So page 11 is really good for that. And notice that we do leave a couple blank at the bottom because we don't know what you might come up with, and that's kind of exciting too.